Welcome back. You are listening to the Mari Mukwanda Show on Salam Media, and we are also live on Facebook. If you have any comments, queries, questions, or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can send them to our WhatsApp line on 061 766 0355. So, living a life of crime and then having to go to jail to pay for your crimes and coming out of jail as a reformed person and trying to fit and integrate back into society can be a very daunting task. And it's not easy. I mean, we know that when we try to apply for jobs, they always ask if you have a criminal record. And if you do have a criminal record, well, there's no say whether or not you will get the job, and we are already facing a high unemployment rate. So trying to stay away from a life of crime once again is also very difficult. But a gangster cafe opened up in Cape Town, and joining me on the line right now is the deputy CEO, Mark Slessenger, who's going to be telling us more about this cafe and the great initiative that they have going on. A good day, Mark. Thank you for joining me.
Good day, Marianne. Nice to be on here. Thank you for interviewing us.
It's a pleasure. All right. So tell us about a Gangster Cafe. What makes it so unique?
Yeah, well, so we're a charity. I work for a charity called the Message Trust, and we work in prisons here in Cape Town. I've been working in the prisons here since 2003. So, that's another story, how I got involved with that. But one of the biggest challenges that we've always seen is just for the guys when they get out of prison. That's where the biggest challenges really begin. As you mentioned, the youth unemployment rate, also going back to dysfunctional families, the crimes that they committed previously brings a whole world of challenges for anybody leaving prison that really wants to change and do something positive, get out of this lifestyle. So Gangstar Cafe, it's not gangster, it's Gangstar. So gang is the past, star is the future. The Gangstar Cafe was birthed really as a way to help employ and train young men when they come out of prison, to give them a hope and a future. So that's how it was birthed. And we have 2 coffee shops based here in Cape Town right now.
All right, that is a great initiative, and also the play on the word Gangstar Cafe. Kudos to that. Right. When did you open your first shop?
So we opened our first shop in Mowbray in April 2017. We had a young man who was released from prison the previous year, who really struggled to find employment. He was coming to our offices, and we were giving him bits and bobs to do, but we had an invite from a partner of ours who said, why don't we start a coffee shop it was a bookshop, Christian bookshop here in Cape Town. So why don't you start a coffee shop in here? So we just put 1 coffee machine in, we trained up Paula as a barista, and that's how it began. And now we own that building. So we've expanded the cafe now. We're employing up to 5 young men that have been released from prison, but now also looking to expand to more cafes moving forwards.
Wow. So since opening up shop, how has the response been from both the customers as well as the ex-convicts?
Yeah, so I think initially people were a bit, unsure, what is this Gangstar Cafe, and the name is quite bold, as you said earlier. And but the response has been absolutely amazing. We've seen how the public are really responding. I mean, everybody hates crime and sick of gangsterism and sick of this reoffending wheel, which is costing the country not only a lot financially, but costing people a lot emotionally and across the board. So the public's been really warm to us. They've been really embraced it. We opened our second coffee shop up in a mall in Durbanville, and it's quite a different culture out there. More, I would say, older white people in the mall. So when we first put it in, I was thinking, how will people respond to this Gangstar Cafe? But again, just amazing. I mean, one story is older ladies walked into the coffee shop and they said, "Oh, what's this Gangster Cafe all about?" And one of our baristas went up to them and said, "Oh, well, gang is the past, star is the future. I've changed my life. I've given my life to God. I want to make a difference in my life. I don't want to live a life of crime or gangsterism anymore." And they said, "Wow, that's amazing." And they actually started praying for one another in the coffee shop in the middle of the mall. And these ladies now are regular customers. In fact, one of them actually bakes a cake for us every week free of charge and drops it off at the coffee shop. So yeah, this is
Oh,
some of the things we'd love to see in South Africa. I think more of these kinds of positive stories
oh
that are
yes.
stopping. Yeah.
Definitely. That's why we have a segment like this, and we call it Feel Good Mzansi Stories, where people can share the stories of why South Africa still remains a beautiful country despite everything that we are facing. You know, the high crime rate, the gender-based violence, the unemployment rate, etc., etc. But there's so much that can be done, and we can do it. All right, now, speaking about the crime rates and as well as the correctional facilities and rehabilitation centers in our country. What do you think is wrong with that? Because it seems like when people or offenders rather get arrested and go to jail, they don't come out as reformed people who can integrate well in society, and then they end up going back to a life of crime and having end up in prisons again. Not many of them come across people like yourself in your organization. So what is wrong with the correctional facilities as well as the rehabilitation centers?
I think the main thing is just the overcrowding issue that we have in our correctional facilities. So we have about 145% overcrowding. There's a lot of young people going to prison, but when they get into the system, the capacity for corrections to do everything is very difficult because corrections have to oversee the security, they have to oversee the well-being of the offender in the prison, the feeding. So that's why correctional services say that rehabilitation is a societal responsibility. It actually takes the whole of society to see rehabilitation really take place. And I think the biggest challenge is, I mean, the prison, the correctional facility I work in, Jarkenstein in Paarl, youth facility, they do tremendous work there as correctional facilities on the inside. And we see the young men grow, really progress. But when they get released, that is where the real challenges happen, especially around the employment issue, because youth unemployment is so high. Add a criminal record, it is virtually impossible for them to get work. So these are the major challenges. And the other challenge is because they have a community of support, whether that was in the gang system before, or or they're getting out of that lifestyle and they have mentors and coaches. When they leave the prison, they don't have that in place. They go back to their community. So making sure that they have a community around them that supports them when they reintegrate is crucial as well. So it's a complex situation. It's not easy to rehabilitate and to support young people in and out of prison. It's quite a long process, but it's really looking at methods and interventions where you can walk a road with them from prison through to reintegration, and through into employment as well, to really support them over a long period of time.
And that would be a great initiative. What I've also noticed is that there's a huge stigma attached to ex-convicts. I mean, when people see or know that this person is an ex-convict, they do not want to associate with them because they look like a dangerous person. We don't give them the opportunity to prove themselves wrong. We also don't give them the benefit of the doubt. All we see is a person who used to live a life of crime, whether they were involved in murders, cash heists, etc., etc. So that's also another problem that we have as a society.
Yes, 100%, and completely understandable. Because a lot of guys in prison have committed horrific crimes, and yeah, I think from our perspective, we really want to see change happen, and we want to make sure that we see that especially young people, because we only work with juvenile offenders at present, but young people that really regret and made a lot of bad choices when they were younger, and through just silly decisions that they have made, dropping out of school at an early age, joining a gang, etc. But I think the key thing is, do they want to change? So if we won't work with anybody that wants to continue in gangsterism or continue. We need to be working with those that want to get out of that lifestyle. And the positive thing around the cafes, I think, is a lot of people that meet our guys, it changes that stigma, because they're like, wow, you were in we never would think that you would have been in prison before. You're such a nice guy, and all of this kind of stuff, because they're serving them a nice cup of coffee. But yeah, I think that's what brings about change, and shows that anybody can change if we can give them a second chance.
All right. Now, you mentioned that you work with youth who actually want to change and not go back to the life of crime that they were involved in. So, how does the reintegration program work? Take us through that.
So, as I mentioned, we work with a group in the prison. So we already walk in a road, and we call it MEP, Message Enterprise Program, where we take a group of guys, we interview, we recruit them in the correctional facility, and then we train them for a year. We help prepare them for release. Many young guys leaving prison have no vision, no plan for when they come out of a correctional facility. So we help prepare them for that. I often use the analogy of a war. This is the training camp for the war, the battlefield you're going to be going into when you come out of the correctional facility, because you're going to be faced with so many challenges: drugs, gangsterism, unemployment. These are the battles you will face before you come out. So really, it's preparing them for that. Then when they come out, we walk a road with them throughout. So we will meet them at the parole office as they get released. Then we will take them to their family. Then we will bring them into our offices, and then we take them through a reintegration program, predominantly refreshing them in some of the stuff we would have trained them previously inside, but then also helping them find employment. We have a halfway home as well, where we place them in accommodation if they need it, if their home situation is so dysfunctional, or it's not going to help them reintegrate. So the important thing is to make sure you have a structure and you have a process for each person that is leaving, so that they can feel that there is hope when they come outside as well.
And how long does the program last?
So inside, we're working with the guys sometimes, minimum a year, even up to 2 years. And then when they come out, what we do is we normally have about a 3-month reintegration process, where they come and they do training in our offices. And then through that, we'll either place them in our cafes, or we would look to place them externally into other jobs through our networks. So yeah, so it's about all in all, you're looking at a good 2.5 year process with each young person that we're working with.
And so far, how many ex-offenders have you worked with and have helped through this process?
That's a very good question. I think we started in Jarkenstein Youth Facility in 2014, and I think from our latest stats, we've had about 56, I think, guys that have come through that whole system. And around about 70% of those have found employment, which is really positive. And I think that just 13% have reoffended. So the national reoffending rate is 85%. So we're seeing that the intervention is working. It is preventing guys from reoffending and finding crime, going back to crime and going back to the gangs predominantly. So although you think, oh, you've only worked with 56 guys since 2014, there's no quick fixes with this kind of work. You need to go deep, you need to go long term, and you need to provide the structures and the processes to really see change happen.
And you need to be consistent. And even if you help just one person, that one person is going to make the change that you need. I mean,
Yeah.
56 already is a huge number. It's half of 100. So kudos to you guys
Mm.
and the good work that you're doing. So if anybody would like to know more, how can they contact you?
Yeah, you can go on to the website, which is www.gangstarcafe.com, or just email us at info@gangstar.com as well. And then you can get hold of us and find out a little bit more.
All
We're
right.
on
So thank you
social
so
media
much
as
for your
well.
time.
You just put in Gangstar Cafe and you'll see it on Facebook as well. So follow us on Facebook and like our stuff. That would be great.
All right. So thank you so much for your time, Mark, and I wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was Mark Slessenger, the Deputy CEO of Gangstar Cafe. It's Gangstar, the star. Yeah, that one, not gangster. Yeah, so Google Gangstar Cafe, and then you can also watch the videos that are there of ex-offenders who have been through the reintegration program and are now people who are part of society who have decided to make the change to better themselves and their communities at large. And if you find yourself in Marlborough in Cape Town or Durbanville in Cape Town, then do visit the Gangster Cafe and order yourself a nice cup of whatever it is that you want. Or you can also just Google Gangster Cafe and find out more about what they do and their programs, etc., etc. You are listening to the Barry Mukonda Show on Slam Media. If you have any comments, questions, queries, or suggestions, you can leave them in the comment section below, or you can send them to our WhatsApp line on 061 766 0355. To stay with us, we will be right back.